Hello and welcome to this episode of Candid Moments with Dr. D. Our guest on the show today is Favour Gam, a 19-year-old author of the book To the Beautiful You, published May 2025. She's the daughter of John and Juliana Gam, hailing from Bangwa for Miss Juliana and your dad from Meta. So welcome, Favour, to Candid Moments. It's such a pleasure having you today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. It's such an amazing opportunity.
Yes. So basically, I always like to talk about how I met my guests and how I got to know them before bringing them to the show. And I basically met Favor through my younger brother. And she was like, he was raving about her. Oh, there's this amazing Cameroonian girl doing amazing things. She's like writing a book. And I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, how old is she? And Carrie was like, oh, she's 19 years old. And I was taken aback. And I was like, I need to get my hands on your book. So congratulations on this big accomplishment.
Thank you.
So, one of the questions that I have to ask you, because our listeners and viewers are dying to know, is like, what was your inspiration for writing up this book?
Yeah, so I'd say my main inspiration was just about like wanting to make an impact. I
Yeah.
feel like I've always had like that drive and like motivation in me to like kind of like do something and kind of like make a name for myself, especially like given my background and where I come from. Like, not a lot of people are like privileged to do many things within like their dreams and pursuits.
Yeah.
So once I saw the opportunity, I really had to take a grab on it.
I think, yeah. So, as somebody who has been reading the book myself, because when Carrie told me, I was like, I have to definitely buy the book. So, I bought the book, I started reading it, and I was like, I can't believe this is a 19-year-old like child. But I also think one of the skill sets that you developed that took you this far, because I think sometimes people just celebrate the end results. They never really think about your journey.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the ways you were talking about the book. You said, I'm somebody who always enjoyed writing, and you talked about keeping a diary, because like what is that about, like this whole idea of like journaling and diary, because in our community we don't have a lot of people talking about journaling your feelings and writing a diary. What got you started? What was your like, where was it from? Was it like, oh, let me just get a book and write this, or was there somebody in your life that was like, oh, take this and start writing? Where did that start from, and who inspired you to start from there? Because that's the beginning of your journey.
Yeah, so in the epilogue, I kind of like talked about how like I feel like the book was kind of like always in works. Like,
Yeah.
growing up, I do little activities within like the reading and writing department, and like gradually I started seeing myself like really being within books and literature, because I'm not the most like outspoken person, so writing has always been my way of like self-expression.
Yeah.
And I kind of talked a little bit about it in like the first chapter. Especially like given like African community, we're not really like open to like literature and
Yeah.
writing. Like in the first chapter, I talked about how like my mom kind of like beat me and yelled at me because I was writing about how I had a crush on a boy when I was
Yeah.
a kid. So kind of stuff like that. I really had to like learn to kind of go out of my shell and kind of like make it normal for me, because the cultural setting that I was in didn't make it normal. So I had to like be the one to push myself out there to like
Yeah.
make it be a normal thing, because that's what I genuinely enjoy.
Yeah. And one of the reasons I really enjoy reading about you, and I enjoyed about the book, and one of the things, the things that makes me bring people onto the show is like, I'm looking for people who are trailblazers, people who are transcending that cultural stereotype, who dare to go into the unknown, who are like, this thing is not culturally accepted, but I'm gonna do it. And it's like, maybe they might have been inspired by other people, or or maybe it came out from something inwards. But that was also another reason why I was like, I definitely have to have you on my show, because when you think about journaling giving fruits to a book like this, it's something that you don't hear a lot of people on in our culture talking about, right? So I was like, and then I read the story about your mom beating you, and I was like, but yeah, she still went on to keep writing the book. You think that after they beat her, she'd be like, I don't want to see books again. But it made you write even more. And I think what I also saw was like the growth in your writing as I moved from one chapter to another. And it was like, it's also I think it's also, it can be reflected in the growth of your journaling. Like, you left from just talking about a crush on a boy to basically contemplating deeply world themes and concepts, right? From like failure to success to friendship to like the Bible. And I was like, and I could see your maturity, not only in your writings, but even across the book. So again, that was one of the reasons I was like, I definitely have to have her here on Candid Moments because she's phenomenal. And I think you always say like, I'm shy, but when you read your stuff, it doesn't give that perception. It's like you're a very different person in person and in your book.
Yeah.
So it's like your book is like your safe space. Is it okay for me to assume that? Like it's like your book is like you writing is like your safe haven where you find means of expression. Is that an okay analysis of who you are as a person?
Oh
Okay.
yeah, I definitely say that it is. Growing up, like I try to do little activities
Yeah.
that would try to like pull me out of my shell, and I always found that like writing was like the number one thing. Like in high school, I did policy debate, so I
Yeah.
had a little bit of experience as a debater. We kind of like go through like files and stuff, as well as like also the public speaking aspect.
Yeah.
I found myself like really thrilled by like the going through the hundreds of pages of files and
Yeah.
just like reading new interesting things, divulging and going deeper into like different topics from like policy to like healthcare and all those different ranging things. But the public speaking part was always like the harder part for me.
The harder part for you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think you're doing great, and I think you'll do great, and I think the more you grow, the more you morph into that. So it's not something that you just do overnight. So one of the things I also notice about your book is that you read a lot. I
Yeah.
you quoted some of my favorite like writers like Toni Morrison. I absolutely love her, and it made me reflect on my younger days. Like books were almost coming to the U.S. because I'm also an immigrant like yourself. I came to the U.S. at 14 years old, went through the same bullying
Yeah.
with like being accent, and I think I came to the U.S. when being African was not cool. Like, oh my God, African booty scratcher was something that I heard a lot. And then, oh, did you guys live in huts? And do you were lions your friends? And I was like, so it was a hard place for me to be. And I think books were really like my safe space and my safe haven. So I got to read a lot. So when you went on talking about the poems you read and like the books you read, I was like, oh my God, I can see the young Diane in you. And so based on that, like what is your favorite book? Or what is your most impactful book? I know it's a loaded, like it's a loaded one.
Um, this is a really really hard question for me because I do love like a lot of different topics. So like to kind of like
Yeah.
scale it down
Yes.
is a
Yeah.
little hard. But I'd say
Oh, what is the first one that pops into your head?
okay, the first one that pops into my head would probably be All About Love by Bell Hooks.
Okay.
Yeah, I really love the book because going into it, I thought it would be more of like a like I kind of was box minded when it
Yeah.
came to the book. I was thinking it was more like a romance centered book that
Yes.
just speaks about like love from a romance perspective, but it was actually much more than that. She talked about like rewriting the narrative of love that we have. Like she
Yes.
talks a lot about like communion and how in community like love cannot just mean like something romantic, but can also mean like how we as people amongst ourselves kind of like share and nurture amongst each other. And I
Yeah.
thought that was really beautiful. And I try to like kind of emulate that in one of my chapters as well, where I talked about communion and like the friends that I have around me, how
Yeah.
much I've grown just like through knowing them and meeting them. And so yeah.
It's so crazy you mentioned Bell Hooks because I got to read her too.
Oh really?
I read it because Bell Hooks talks a lot about love in the black community, and she has a book called Entire Woman, and then she has like I think Entire Woman is directed to black men, and then she has one for black women towards black men. I forget what the name is, but I'm going to put it down when we're. But basically, entire like when she talks about her books, I love it because most of the times, every time we talk about a minority experience, right? It's always centered around the majority experience.
Yeah.
Like when we talk about like black experience, we always be like, but white people. So somehow we always end up like making our experiences about them. And then when we talk about, let's say, women, and then we'll be like, but what if it was a man? And we take it right back to like the majority instead of just making it about us and like existing in that space and almost forgetting that the other side is not there. But one thing I love about Beho, she knows how to like isolate the black experience. And when she was talking about the black man and how he's the most desired, and I was like, oh yeah, yeah. Like because it was like, and then she goes on to say, but desire is not love. And from then on, it just shaped my perspective about her as a writer. I was like, and then she just kept going deeper and like why the black man is celebrated in today's social, like in today's social relationship experience, like why he's the most desired is because there's this narrative of black skin and black men sexy. Like people use their bodies for almost like a sexual connotation,
Mm-hmm.
but they never really love the essence of who they are. And then she talks now about the black woman and like how she's like the lowest on the social stratum, but she talks about the power and the will of the black woman and what we have had to come to and overcome. So when you brought up the hooks, I was definitely like, okay, okay, girl, we can definitely talk more about that. But I actually also very much love her as a writer. And then you also got to mention Toni Morrison. Did you? What of her books did you read?
The Bluest Eye.
Oh my God.
I love that book.
That book is very sad. If anybody, it's a very sad book, but it's a very. I think when we talk about the bluest eye, right, let's shift into talking about colorism in our community, which is one thing that you spoke about very lightly in the book when you were in Dubai, at the age of 7, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And you talked about an experience of like bullying,
Mm-hmm.
and how there was another girl on the, can you for our audience like recap that story, because I got to read the book. I don't know about you guys, but you should definitely grab a copy of To the Beautiful You. But can you tell our audience what that story was about the bullying experience on the bus, and how somebody who is almost in the same complexion range as you was bullying somebody else that was darker, and how that plays into the dynamic of our African society? I don't know if it's a question that you have reflected on, but I
Oh,
pick you to be
yeah.
a very reflective person. So that's my question.
Yeah, no, the experience was definitely life altering, I to say the least. It happened around like the age of 7. I was in Dubai. And like, immigrating to a new country,
Yeah.
it's like kind of like unfamiliar waters, new territory. So I didn't really know what to expect.
Yeah.
Because keep in mind I was a child, like I was really young.
Yeah.
So I kind of came there with an open mind. Like I was just mainly worried about like making friends. And so getting there and then realizing that like a majority of the people in your classrooms don't look like you.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a depressing moment to me, I'd say, like seeing that, oh, like there's very few people that look like me, and then the people that did, like I didn't really have the closest relationship to them.
Yeah.
And so it kind of sucked, felt a little isolating.
Mm.
And then like going through that interaction where like the people who were like kind of closest to me in terms of skin color, the way they were mistreating me, it felt kind of wrong. Because there was this one particular girl in my class
Yeah.
that, she'd say little comments like about my hair and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like I come home every day like crying and mad to my parents until it got so bad they had to like talk to the principal about
Yeah.
it. And just like working through that experience, kind of like having to like delve deeper into it and kind of like pull out and reroot, uproot
Yes,
the
yeah.
comments that she made and try not to internalize
Yeah.
it. It was really like an experience that kind of like took a lot of time.
Yeah.
And then also like having to like give heart to her as well, like understanding that what she was projecting onto me wasn't something that like marked her as the evil person. It's just much more of like what the world projected onto her.
Yeah.
So having to like be compassionate in that way was like something that I feel really shaped me as a person.
Yeah. I think you explained it so beautifully. It's not her as a person, but it's the projections of our world.
Yeah.
And what we have seen in today's society is like everything dark is like ugly,
Yeah.
and everything light is beautiful. And we continue to see how that plays into our concept of like self-love and self-beauty. And it also plays into like inferiority complexes and superiority complexes within our African framework. Where it's like if you're a lighter child, it's like, oh, you're so cute. Your people always call you almost like they call you like an ajebo, like if you're like, and then if you're a darker child, like they call you like a poor man's child and stuff. But obviously we're now learning this new concept of beauty, of like black is beautiful, and also realizing that beauty is not only from a physical exterior, but also from something that's internal. And like I said, the way you describe and sing her humanity, even when she wasn't seeing your humanity, to me is a beautiful experience. So I definitely, I think it shows so much growth and reflection on your part and how far you have come as a young child. One of the other things that you basically explored in your book was talking about like the concept of failure and successes, right?
Yeah.
And I think you delved really deep into it. And you spoke about like this Uber driver you had met, and basically personally for me, I don't talk to when I'm in the Uber, right? I don't talk to anybody. I just always feel like I just want to I'm always a very, very, very reflective person. So every time I spend to be with myself, it's like I want to be with myself.
Mhm.
But that moment was also beautiful because we saw the power of interaction. And I just went to a service on Sunday. Was talking The pastor was talking about the power of hospitality and like welcoming people. And when I was reading that story, I just thought about that. Like you welcome that person. You were sitting in the car, you could have just been like headphones in, playing your is this SAR? I'm not really familiar with is this
Oh,
the
Scissor?
Scissor?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sorry guys, I'm not like the latest. I'm like, but yeah, but I know you mentioned her in the book and how you absolutely love her. But I was like, you can just plug your headphones in and shut the wall out. But just your ability to interact in the world with the world, you
Mhm.
get so much enlightenment through your experiences. And you spoke about the Uber guy and like him talking about his experiences quitting a very high paying job to become a teacher. What did that moment mean for you to see like this like because again in our community, just for context, in African community, if you're not a doctor, lawyer, what is the other doctor, lawyer, engineer,
Engineer.
there's one more, maybe IT now because of the money.
Mhm.
But if you're not in a field that's lucrative, people don't even pay you any mind. Like if you say, "Oh, I'm a teacher," people are looking at you like,
Yeah.
but we come from. So how are you able to grapple with what success and failure is at your sort at your very young age? Because in the book, it seemed to me like you figured it out.
I'd say yeah. I'm kind of like still drifting like through the process of like understanding fully what success means to me. I feel like that interaction with the Uber driver was like really really impactful just for the idea like was I was just like heading home from school. My parents wanted me to like come home watch my siblings. I
Yeah.
think, maybe I'll just take a quick nap in the car, and then he brought up a couple questions to me, asked me about like my major, what do I plan on doing in the future.
Yeah.
And I'm not really a person to like shy away from a conversation.
That's
Even though,
good.
yeah,
Even though you said
I'm
that you're
nervous.
nervous, I
But
love it.
yeah, I always love learning about people,
Yeah.
what they do as their profession.
Yeah.
So I definitely like fed into the conversation and just like listening to him like speak to me about like the things that he's doing, how like, even monetarily he might be satisfied, but in his heart he knows that like he could do more.
Yeah.
And I feel like it really like touched up on me in that moment. Like, even though I do have this like mindset of what success means to me by what like society has fed to me, I know that in the back of my mind and in the back of my heart that I want to do more, and there's so many like passions and pursuits that I can really achieve so long as I set my mind to it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was speaking a lot about like his age and like just how like the pivot kind of like meant something kind of scary and dangerous in terms of like his paycheck and like in terms of like just how much time he spent and time and commitment into like going into his profession. So it did have me thinking like he was like really inspiring as a person, because you think like, oh, he's just a common regular person that's like just doing a regular Uber job.
Yeah.
But in actuality, he's actually working towards like impacting young minds, and I
Yeah.
thought that was really incredible.
And I think that's the beauty of storytelling. And I think that's the beauty of learning about each other that I think maybe it's a lost art in our generation because we tend to focus a lot on self.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, I always had this like this motto. I was like, why should I make the mistakes that other people have made? Always felt like if I talk to enough people, there are mistakes that I should not make because they have made those mistakes, and I can certainly lose use their experiences as a valuable lesson for myself. And so that way I'm allowed to make new mistakes. But I definitely, one of the things that touched me about that was just like your openness to interacting in that conversation. Like, we're always in a generation where someone's always wearing headphones and like we're not really like comfortable with strangers. We like familiar faces, familiar conversations. But you as a young mind and just opening yourself up to that experience and it being so impactful was definitely breathtaking to me. And one of the things that you also mentioned is like you asked the question in your book, it's like who is it all for?
Yeah.
Yeah, that I don't know if you remember that question you asked. You're like, who is it all for? And I think maybe that guy made you understand that that's the first thing that you should be thinking about. like who is it all for? And in my note card, I actually made a note. I put who is it all for? You had said, I hope your answer is it's for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, I think maybe I'll go a little bit deeper. Maybe as somebody who has gone ahead of you with a little bit more experience, being in your shoes with a little bit more experience, I think I would have said, I hope it's for God and it's for your community. And when I say that, I don't mean it's in the sense that, oh, it's like you're not important. I feel like we're all living souls placed on earth like with a purpose, and this purpose is amounting to something big. What that big picture is, we don't know, but we definitely have a role to play.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was like, if you're and you're a Christian too, so I one of the things, so I also think you can understand like my line of thought is like, all things were made for the glory of God.
Yeah.
And so when you were saying like, who is it all for? I think everything I do is for the glory of God. And if everything I do is for the glory of God, then humanity will always be impacted in a positive way because he loved us so much that he sent his only begotten son to die for us. So it's like God didn't just place us here to work money, buy a house, buy a car, like cruise for our family. He created us for something bigger. And what that bigger is, it's our responsibility to find out. And then on the part of community, it was also for the idea that there's so many, when we exist in a community, there's so many things that our community needs but lacks. So in terms of solutions, like there's so many problems. So once you put your mind into solving a humanitarian problem, and when I say humanitarian, I don't mean like hungry people. I mean a problem that burdens humanity. There is purpose in that. So when you ask that question, who is it all for? It placed me in a state of reflection, and that was like my answer. I don't know if you have a different take on that because you said it's for me. Why did you say I hope it's for you?
Yeah, no, I think both of our answers can actually be combined. Like,
Yeah.
in the sense that, like, though I say it's for you and
Yeah.
you say it's for God and like the community, I feel like we can like kind of like piece that together because our God is he's the only true God.
Yeah.
So you always want to be true to yourself
Yeah.
and be true to your talents and just be true to your pursuits. Like if you know you're following a specific career path just to earn a certain paycheck or buy this specific car, you're not being true to yourself. And God sees it as well. He's the one who gives you those talents in order to like make that impact.
Yeah.
So long as you're true to yourself and you continue to follow along the path that He has ordained and aligned for you, then that's kind of you feeding into yourself.
Wow, that's beautiful. And it's also like basically living a purpose driven life, basically. It's like life is more than just our material things. And I think you also mentioned that in the book.
Yeah.
How can you be 19-year-old and talking about all those deep things? It's crazy.
It's just having lived in like so many different countries,
Yeah.
interacted with different people. I feel like I'm very like introspective, as you said. Like,
Yeah.
like absorb things and then like think about it after. So the multiple different interactions that I've seen, like I've seen people with like really fancy cars in Dubai, and then in those same streets, I've seen homeless people
Yeah.
in the side of the market. So just being able to see like those two different dynamics, it kind of like has something clicking in your head in terms of like what you're experiencing and like kind of just like how to navigate the world. Like
Yeah.
why do people experience certain different things or live certain different lives? Like you also have to question like does it mean that this person deserves this? Sometimes they don't. It
Yeah.
just happens to be their circumstances. And so just like that thought kind of like shifts a lot.
Yeah. Do you always find yourself in a place of like isolation because you're constantly like thinking?
Yeah, my friends call me an overthinker.
Yeah.
I really accepted the title. I do say I do enjoy like being isolated.
Yeah.
But I try not to do it too much in the point where it gets like harmful.
Yeah, I think you spoke about that in your book. Like, there's a different. I think I don't know how to verbalize that, but you almost said like you should be able to step away so you can be still,
Mhm.
but you should not remove yourself. I can put
I
it
know
as
what you're talking
beautifully
about.
as you said it, but it was more from the perspective of like being able to step away to find your moment of stillness, and what stillness means to each person.
Mhm.
And I think you spoke about that. I don't even remember. But I read this book, and the book is so beautiful. I was like 19 years old writing this. I was like, this is a. And when you think about the beautiful you don't want to think about like, it's a love story. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's like a. I think you played that bell hook trick on us. Where you
Yeah.
write.
I definitely
Yeah, yeah. You were like, oh, somebody's gonna be like, oh my god, I'm about to read this love story. Oops, oops. And then you
yeah.
open it and it's a whole bunch of philosophical things, and you're like,
Yeah.
she's getting me thinking. But no, it's beautiful. So let's talk about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of part in your book, you're always like, I'm anxious.
Yeah.
And you're like, college is making me anxious. I'm putting in the work. But one of the things that I love about you is, again, your ability to know yourself.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I tell my younger siblings, I always say, know yourself to the point where nobody else can tell you who you are but yourself.
Mm.
So before and I do that a lot. I tell people, before you come to me to tell me who I am, if you're right,
You-
I already know that about myself. And if you're wrong, I already know, like, I will tell you that's definitely not true. And sometimes people will perceive that as me being arrogant, but it's like, I spend too much time with myself for you to tell me about myself. And I'm like, uh-huh. It's me to myself is never an aha moment, because it's like, I spend a lot of time with myself. And I think that's the beauty of you too. You were very, like, again, you're introspective. A lot of times you're like, I'm anxious. Like in college, I'm preparing for school, I'm anxious. But you also talk about like your wins, like getting into the University of Maryland and what that meant to you. You talk about like you sometimes not taking the moment to celebrate your wins because you're already ready for the next win. And from children who come from a hyper achieving culture, that can be problematic.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
I'd say just like the African environment, they're always stressing on like achieving the next thing.
Thing, yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah.
100
Don't
feet
give
miles
up.
per hour.
I did not give up on you.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I'd say it gets really draining, which is why like it's always important to like always come back and like affirm yourself about your accomplishments and kind of like sit in the moment and say I really did this. It's an amazing ordeal. Cause kind of like with me when I wrote the book, it didn't really click in until like a month after. And I was looking at the book and I was like, wow, I really wrote a book.
Yeah, you wrote a book. I feel like rapping this book. Like, this is you.
Yeah, that's me. Like it really has been like just processing
Yeah.
it has been really difficult. But I feel like once I'm like kind of like slowing down
Yeah.
and kind of just bit by bit, like with the people around me
Yeah.
also affirming me, telling me like I did something amazing. Like sometimes I hear it and like I give like a little cheeky smile because it just doesn't feel real. And like people acknowledge it,
Yeah.
they see it because it's like it's a tangible object in front of their faces. They're reading it, and it's not their thoughts they're reading.
Yeah.
But it's like when I read it, it's my thoughts. It feels so foreign. It feels
Yeah.
so unreal. So I'm still kind of like trying to digest that. But, yeah.
That's how I feel about this podcast, like starting this podcast. But you know, when I was reading your book, I felt guilty because I'm one of those people. I have my friend, she's my really good friend, Ngozi. So she always be like, if you've gotten to this point in the conversation, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Subscribe. I'm waiting. Okay, let's get back to the conversation. And then I was doing my master's while in residency. And I was just like, Ngozi, and then she was like, and I was like, what's the big deal with all these things? And one of the things that when I lie on my bed and I think about, not to be arrogant, I always like, I knew I was meant to be great. So to me, it's like when I do these quote unquote great things, it's almost like it's a self fulfilling thing. It's like I already knew I was meant to do those things. I don't know if that's how you feel.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Like you feel more relief than a sense of accomplishment.
Yes, exactly. Oh my god, you put it. Yeah, I feel like I was meant to do this and I've just done it. So it's instead of like breaking, like, oh, I've done this and I'm so great by this. It's more or less like I just done what I was supposed to do and I feel good. As opposed to, like you said, I don't want to leave any, like, my greatest fear is having dreams are the great buried dreams. And it reminds me of one of my other pastors and mentors used to say, Miles Monroe. He's dead now, but he's like, the graveyard is the richest place on earth, because when you go to the graveyard, you see dreams that were never lived, purpose that was never fulfilled, the plans that were never brought to fruition. And it got me thinking. And so I always tell people, since ever like have being under his mentorship, I pursue everything with fearless determination. And so when I almost like get it and everybody's celebrating, I'm like, what's the next thing I'm supposed to do? And so I think because I used to be like, I used to be so anxious. Like I worry like, oh my God, will I do this? Like if I'm applying to college, I'm like, will I get in? I want to be this. But then when I shifted the focus from more of an accomplished mindset to more of like I'm living in purpose. And everything that I'm doing is from a place of God has put a seed in me and I have to live it out. I started relying more on trusting him
Mm-hmm.
to let that seed grow and less in myself. So even when it came to the celebration part of it, when I truly mean it can all be God, I truly meant like it can only be God,
Yeah.
because it's like I can they're total real. I'm just like the vessel that's manifesting these things, but the idea and the work and how I got myself through it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And that's how I started feeling. So when I was reading that part, I felt guilty, but I didn't feel guilty. I was like, yeah, I'm one of those people who don't like stop and bask in like my accomplishments, but it's also because of this reason. I started trying to ask myself, like, why don't you do that? And this is where I settled at. So your book gave me a lot to think about, because as you're reading it, you ask like those really like deep questions. It's like you don't have to say it to me. Just think about like why, you know? So that was one of the things I really enjoyed reading this book. By the way, if you guys are not following, this is a review. So this is a review of me like going over the book as somebody who read it. So now from young people who are suffering from mental health because of this hyper achieving culture, like what would you advise them, or what are some of the things that you have used for yourself to help you manage those anxiety and those thoughts?
Mm.
Because I stated mine. It's just me like relying on God and like r- realizing that everything I accomplish is for His purpose, and Him like working through me to make His purpose brought alive. But what do you do as a 19-year-old in like a Gen Zer in
Mm.
this generation? What do you do?
Yeah, I've always told myself like when you're battling with anxiety, let anxiety have like the hour but not the day.
Mm.
Kind of in the sense that like affirm yourself for what you're feeling. Like if you're anxious, you have to kind of accept it to like
Yeah.
get over it.
And that was the beautiful part
Yeah.
about you. You were always like, you wrote it, I am anxious. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you were like, I'm not going to lie about what this feeling is.
Yeah.
I'm going to acknowledge it. And that was good.
Yeah, and then once you've acknowledged it, that's the only way you can move past it.
Yeah.
And because if you don't accept it, it's gonna come periodically throughout the
Yes,
day. It's
yeah.
gonna keep coming back. So once you really acknowledge it, you deal with it, you won't see it come through the
Yes,
entire rest
yeah.
of the day. And also like following on with you like through the biblical perspective too, like God is literally giving us the power to thread through snakes and scorpions. Like,
Yes.
there's nothing that he's gonna give you that you can't overcome or you
Exactly.
can't do. So always having that mindset that like whatever God has given to me, whatever task he wants me to do, I can execute it.
Yeah.
Is what really helps you like follow on with your purpose and
Yeah.
like, you know, be purpose guided.
Yeah. But one of the pastors I follow says, he always says, I have not given you, which is quoting the Bible, is like, I have not given you a spirit of fear or anxiety. I've given you a spirit of a sound mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, through prayers and supplications, let your requests be known unto God. Of course, if you're working in accordance to His will. So that's another thing too that I tell young people, that you always have to understand why you're doing the things that, or why you're in pursuit of the pursuits that you are pursuing.
Yeah.
Right? Is it like, what is it for? Is it for like societal validation? Is it for the community to say, hey, that's the doctor? Like, why are you doing the things that you do? And I always reassure them, as like, as long as you're doing anything on account of God, you are not walking by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It might be hard because He says through the valleys of the shadows of death, but that's why He said, I will be with you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That was the first part before He started talking about the valleys of the shadows of death. Because it's like there are valleys of the shadows of death. Like, think about valleys of the shadow, like you're in the valley in the shadows of death. Like, it's triple like warfare. But He's basically saying that I'm walking with you. So I always tell young people like that it's not just enough for you to say, I want to do this. You need to sit with yourself to understand like why you are doing the things that you do. But most importantly, I always try to push them towards a Christ-like way of living, so that way when you're going through those trials and those tribulations, you understand what God's place is. It's
Yeah.
like to rely on Him. And the last thing I'm going to say on this topic is like, when I also think about Jesus, in the Garden of Gethsemane when he was about to fulfill his purpose of dying on the cross. Like, I was like, God understands your anxiety.
Yeah.
Like, God understands your fears. And there is no bravery if there is no fear, right? Because if it was easy, then it's not bravery, right? It's not courage. So it's like those immaculate attributes are found in the place of our greatest fears. So it's like if Jesus Christ, the Son of God, could experience anxiety to the point where the Bible says his tears became blood, and that was the pain, and he could basically, he cried and said, Father, like, let this cup pass over me. He was in so much pain that he was like, please take this away from me. But at the end of the day, what he ended up saying was like, let your will be done. So when you are living in God's purpose and you're leaving his will, there will be those like gardens of Gethsemane. There will be those points of tears. But once you understand that, let God's will be done, that's where peace is.
Yeah.
Right? You will never know peace until you have experienced like warfare and like trial and tribulation. And once you understand that, when you meet peace, there's a greater appreciation for it. So that's what I tell young people. I was like, if Jesus can have anxiety, you know that it's real. So the acknowledgement of it, like you were saying, is very valid.
Yeah.
So therefore, like, work to acknowledge that anxiety. Like, that's the first thing. Like, acknowledge it, but most importantly, rely on God for that peace and for his will to be done in your life. So that's how I would advise young people to deal with it.
No, that's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, I enjoy like talking to young people about things like this because we come from a culture that discounts it.
Yeah, no.
Like, our culture be like, get over it. Our parents be like, if I walk 10 miles to go to school, like, what do you mean people are bullying you? What do you mean people like you're anxious? It's like they're like, you don't work any, like, you don't work, you don't do this. I pay for this, I pay for that. So what are you anxious about?
And I feel like it kind of further exacerbates the issue.
Yes.
People will be going through things, but then they're looking for like a comforting community,
Yeah.
but you're forced to be in isolation because the community around you doesn't acknowledge what you're going through.
Exactly.
It's sad.
And yeah, it's like people like Favor and I, we see you, we recognize what you're going through. So please find somebody you trust
Yes.
that understands that and confide in us. And if you're going through it, put it down below. This is a community. This is Candid Moments where we want to be candid not only about the conversations but about our state of existence.
Yeah.
So mental health to me is a very big deal in our community, and I'm happy that you touched upon it in the book and you also found ways to deal with it for yourself. But I'm also happy that some the things that you were working for came into fruition. Like getting to the University of Maryland, that was a big accomplishment. And so you also talked about a very big decision in your life. You got a full tuition to Towson. And basically because of debate. Tops up to you, girl. And you said you're not a public speaker. Guys, do you think she's lying to us? Like, do we just need to but how were you able to make that decision? Because I couldn't imagine having like all the money and then deciding not to go there.
I kind of had to think of like what would be best for me from like a professional perspective.
Yeah.
Because it's like even though Towson offered like that like financial freedom aspect, the University of Maryland it just seemed more appealing to me because just in the sense of like where I wanted to go professionally, like I want to go into med school, and my specific major at the time was like biochemistry.
Yeah.
And UMD just had like a better like biochem department, so I decided to like follow more through that route. And in the back of my mind, I was worrying about like how am I gonna pay for the rest of my schooling, but I kind of just had to like put trust in God, praying that like he
comes through.
And like so far, I haven't had to pay a single tuition all throughout like my time.
Jesus, you are so good to me.
Yeah, so it's definitely been an amazing experience.
Yeah, you're such a admirable young lady, and I think you have made a lot of adult decision in a very young span of your life. And trust me, it's gonna pay off. Like these big decisions that you have to make and go through for yourself. And if I'm not recalling, you're first in your family to go to college, right?
Yeah.
Me too. So I see, like that's why I see a lot of my young self in you.
Yeah, and we're both elder sisters.
Yes, we're both elder sisters. Yeah. So it's like when I was reading your book, I was like, she wrote this book. It speaks to me. I think you wrote it for every first child in the African household. And if you're a first child in an African household, please pick this book. Read it because she'll be speaking to your very core. Because I had to make the same decision. And I enjoy, like, those decisions were really hard to make because I had to make it because when I came to the US, my parents didn't know like any university. They were just like apply to University of Maryland, apply to University of, so they just thought every state had a university. So just apply to any of those universities. So I applied, I got into Rutgers, and I went there and I fell in love with it. I was like something, and every time I make a decision, I follow the inkling of the spirit within me.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom always says like I'm so headstrong. Like when I make a decision, it's like I made a decision, and I tell people I do that because I think through a lot of my decisions. Like I sit with my decisions. So for you to come and tell me I'm wrong,
Yeah.
you better have thought about it to like the way I have thought about it and be ready for me to challenge you to the, not because I don't think you're right, but because I need to get to the core of where you're coming from because I know where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So I decided to go to Rutgers to I had financial aid, and it was like it was the most beautiful journey of my life. It was expensive, but I saw it as an
Yeah.
investment. I met my husband there. So even when I look back at it, I'm like, oh, I have this loans. I'm like, but I wouldn't take back anything about it because I got bullied in high school. There was times where I would not talk in class. Like I just wrote, I also wrote very beautifully. So writing took me from Esau to AP language
Wow.
because I would write and my teacher was like, you don't speak in class, but you write so well.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's because I was shy of my accent.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just write and I would never talk in English class. And one time she walked up to me, she was like, I did not bring you this far so you can sit, you have something to say.
Yeah.
But I never listened to her. So when I went to Rutgers, I found my voice because I was just like, there was just something about it that gave me like a new existence. I just felt like new. And I like started engaging on campus and I like met the president and I'm like head of my hall and I'm
What
like
did you study?
Actually I was trying to go to pharmacy school and I didn't know you could like just do like prereqs and get into pharmacy school. So I was actually a biochemistry major like you.
Yeah.
So I was like, so that's why I went to Rutgers to do biochemistry. But then I went there and I didn't do anything science related. Just like how you were talking about, which is also the idea of people putting us in a box
Yeah.
in the community. Like people see you as a girl child and they automatically ask you should be able to cook at you.
Yeah.
You should be able to take care of children because the moment people see you as a woman and a black woman, they're ready to just put you in a box of what they think you should be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you have a young you who is a medical on the medical pathway and you're doing all these things that are not related to medicine, right? And you're enriching yourself with these beautiful experiences. But people think, oh, since you want to do medicine, you should be doing science club,
Yeah.
research. So people also wanted to put me in a box like that. So I just basically went to Rutgers and I told people I was like that was the best time of my life. I found my voice. Like I used to be like very insecure about like my blackness. I got to learn about like black history and like stand proud. That's why I read Bell Hooks because I started doing biochemistry slash African American studies double major. And I was almost done with finishing my capstone in 2 years. I was almost done with like my requirements because it just came so natural to me.
Yeah.
And I tell people education is an investment. And I like the way you thought about the process, right? When you were trying to pick between Towson and University of Maryland. A lot of people just think school, like, oh, I'm going to have student loans. But I always tell my younger ones, I was like, a lot of the subjects we study in school, we can do it online.
Yeah.
But the reason you go to school is to find a community of intellectuals, people you can attach yourself to and soak up this beautiful life experience. So I always tell every African parent, please do not limit your child to community college is a great start when you don't know what you're doing and maybe if you're not very financially stable. But if you can go to a 4-year school and join clubs and organizations, I tell them, I'm like, leave it. It's like the best 4 years of your life. So I like the way you thought about it. You were not just like, oh, this is cheaper. You were like, I have this thing I have to do, which is going to offer me more. And you're like, you know what, I'll take my chances and let God provide. And to me, that's the way you should be making those decisions.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like, this child, she's so blessed. She doesn't even know, but she's so blessed because a lot of people would not think about it like that. How did your parents like support or refute that decision when you made that?
My parents, they were kind of like really adamant on scholarship, scholarship, scholarship.
Yeah.
they kept on telling me all throughout high school, find a way to pay for school because like we don't have any
money, which they do. Actually, they don't.
Yeah.
If African parents had, our kids would be like soaring.
Yeah.
Because imagine us with this very little like resources. So imagine now if they actually had, they will give us the world.
Yeah.
They truly do. Because just immigrating from Cameroon to here, that culture shock. And I read about your mom, and we have to go into talking about her because that woman, Auntie, I see you. Auntie Julie, I see you. But no, I definitely agree with you that they truly do not have. But keep going. Sorry to interrupt. You're just spitting gems, and I'm like,
yeah, they kind of just reiterated to me, you have to find your own way to pay for school. And I was really thinking that a lot throughout like my senior year. Like I literally wrote so many different like essays like for college applications and also for like scholarships because I knew I was like, this is kind of on me now. Like I have to figure this out one way or another. And so when I like got into Towson with like the full tuition scholarship, like I was really proud of myself, really really happy.
of which you should.
Yeah, but in my heart, I just knew I had a feeling like that wasn't really my direction.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like really hoping that UMD would pan out because they also did have a full room and board tuition scholarship that I kind of like just had to interview for. And so like throughout that process, like I really prayed and fasted hoping like I get the opportunity, and then I didn't. And in the moment I was like really
God,
really
you
sad.
betrayed me.
Yeah. I was really, really sad, like going through feels of like for months long, I was trusting God, putting my faith, hoping it'd work out.
Yeah.
In one instant, everything I worked for months, even all throughout high school, just kind of like shattered in front of my eyes. So I was kind of like panicking, like, what am I gonna do? Like, I really don't want to go to Towson. Like, how am I gonna make this work? And I don't know, something just like clicked in me to like just go full blast mode. Like
maybe God was testing your conviction.
Yeah, I think no, that was definitely what it was for the most part. Cause I did feel a little bit betrayed, but like years after, like rethinking through the experience, I realized that like he didn't betray me. He just did it a different route than I thought.
Yeah.
And if anything, like just like having gotten so far in life, like graduating high school is achievement on its own. And instead of me focusing on that, I was yelling at him like, "Oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that."
Yeah.
So looking back at it now, I can fully say like, "Oh yeah, I was wrong in that department." Yeah. But I just like went full blast, started applying the scholarships left and right, left and right. I talk about this a lot with my friends about like my journey of like how I really came to trust God.
Yeah.
'Cause a lot of people say put your faith in God, but like
that's a beautiful part. That's a beautiful. Let's segment it to that.
Yeah, it's very beautiful, but I wouldn't say that I didn't have faith in God. It was more of like a moment.
Are you taking us to the mustard seed chapter?
Oh no, a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Guys, I read my book. You guys get you that book. I'm not playing.
Yeah.
I'm not playing with you. Get this book.
Yeah, no, faith as a mustard seed indeed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really a moment where I say I really like battled with my faith.
Yeah.
Because I felt in that instance, I felt like God abandoned me.
Yeah.
And so having to like reroute that, like the months afterwards, I was applying, but I wasn't really like keeping it in mind that like God would come through for me. It was just kind of like a if I spam apply, maybe something might come.
Yes, yeah. It's like probability.
Yeah, probability.
The more I do, at least we're guaranteed or something. Yeah.
And like they started coming through, like the scholarships, they started coming through, and then it wasn't after like I had stepped on campus when my first semester, like I didn't have to pay anything. That's when it really clicked in my head that like maybe like I had asked for this. Like I had asked for him to pay for my schooling, even though he didn't give it to me directly the way he wanted me to do. Like the way I wanted it, he still gave it to me nonetheless.
Yeah.
And it was just really interesting to see because I feel like that experience also shaped me as a writer because like writing all of those essays, like it really came in handy when it came time to write a book. Like I already kind of like knew my writing flow, knew how I like talk about my story and my life experiences. And so I feel like with me, like my whole testimony with like my school and tuition and like having it paid for, it was kind of like a journey that like God wanted me to like walk through. Like instead of him just handing me like schooling, he said you have to work for it. And so, like going through that experience was like really enlightening. And even still now, like recently I won a scholarship again and it was like $16,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So the next 2 years I paid for it. And so I look back at it again, I'm like, wow, like this is really amazing. Like, just like all the work I've put in, it just keeps on showing in
Yeah.
my face. Like, God is just showing me, like, trust me, like, I'm gonna walk you through this process.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna hand it to you. I'm gonna
Yeah.
give it to you, and then add more gifts on top
Yeah.
of that.
It's like he's not just committed to our needs, he's committed to our character, our
Yeah.
salvation, our growth, our building. It's almost like he's like, I always tell God, please don't even get me emotional about this. I always tell God, you're such an amazing father. It's like when I say father, I mean like you are dedicated to every aspect of my life. Not just giving me good things, but you're making sure that I am going to take care of those good things. So you build the character that's necessary for the handling of those good things. And it's like when you like you said something beautiful. You said I wrote the essays to the point that I could write a book.
Yeah.
And it's like when if you had started this journey and somebody would have said, "Oh, write a book," you'd be like, "Where do I start?"
Yeah.
But now it's like he took you through, and then it also reminds me of the passage that says, "He's like, I will try you by fire," and it's like I always tell God, like, "Test me by fire, God. I even if I fail, but never give up on me because I understand that my humanity and my humanness will make me fall down 70 times, but I know that your love as a good father will pick me up every time I fall."
Exactly.
So that's a beautiful way coming into faith. And one thing I'll tell you is like I'd rather you go on this faith journey now at the age of 18, 19 than people who are living at like 70 and have never found God.
Yeah.
So I also think that and I found God in a similar way. It wasn't applying for school. It was just more or less like through my journey with being in school and just school being so hard and me working 3 jobs, and it's like, and every time I always think like the end of the road is here. It's like God just shows me like I'm just getting started with
Yeah.
you. He's like, and it's he never makes it easy. Every sometimes I'll be like, God, I just want to be a baby girl. Please. I'm like, God, please, I just want to be a baby girl. I'm like tired of, but then I realized like that's the path. He's refining me. He's shaping me. He's like pruning me for what he wants me to be. You know? Let me not get emotional.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, so when I think about your story and I think of mine, I'm like, I rather it's younger
Yeah, exactly.
because then you have your whole life to live in him and he can live through you. And I'm like, I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think it's a mistake. And I think that there's more to come out of you. And there is so much that God is working in you and through you to give to the world. And I will say, keep being who you are, keep trusting in him. Part of adulting is that your faith is going to be tested even more because on campus, you're guarded, you're within a community. When you go to the work, you're going to meet people who are not godly, you're going to meet interactions that are not godly, but just always rely on him. And no matter how far you think you have strayed from him, I always tell my younger ones, he always goes out for the one. Then there's the parable of the 100 sheep, and then one gets lost, and he leaves the 99 and goes out for the one. And it's the parable of the coin. And I was like, never think that you have strayed so far away from God that he cannot find you. So, and because there are times that you're going to go out that far, but you have a God that's dedicated to your success because you're almost his workmanship to the point that you failing is almost like him failing. And we have a God that does not fail.
Amen.
You get what I'm saying? So count it like that because you're so beautiful. You're like a flower it's like in bloom, and I can't wait to see when your full bloom is out. So imagine how far you have gone at 19, and just think about like this is just the beginning. It's like the sky is literally your springboard.
That's the
So
mindset I'm trying to have.
yes. Trust me, by God, all things are possible. Not some things, all things.
Amen.
From the book to the internship to medical school to wherever you want to be, a wife, a mother, all things are possible. So it can happen. Now let's talk about mom. Let's talk about her journey and you having to watch that. And you wrote about her story so beautifully. And for me, as a child, being so conscious of what your mother is going through, because you were not even that old. It's like somebody looking at you would think, oh, you were 23 and you were seeing her. You were very young seeing her because when I was going through your timeline, you were like 7 years. At age 7, I was in Dubai. Age 8, I was in the US. That's when she came over with both of you and your twin brother.
Yeah.
And then you guys, and you had to see her work, be a mother, be a father, be a sister, a friend to you. What was that experience like watching her?
It definitely showed me like there's tenacious women out there. Like,
Yes.
my mom, we all know her. All her friends know her to be a
Auntie
very like
Gigi.
fiery, fiery and strong woman.
Yes.
Yeah, and so just growing up, watching her like take up so many different roles, it was like really empowering to me because it showed me in a sense that like anything I want to do, I'm able to do it.
Yes.
Even though society tries to like limit women within a box, telling them there's only certain things that you can do. She
Yeah.
showed me that you can do those things and then more of that.
Yeah.
And so I always hold it like put her on like the pedestal of like what I try to like strive for when I get older. Like I want to be that person that like pursues everything that is within my
But
heart.
yes.
And I always want to be true to myself and not let other people try to tell me like who I'm gonna be.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
No, I think, like I said, that story was beautiful and it captured what I saw my mom go through. Because for us, it was the reverse. My dad came here and then my mom was back home with four of us.
Oh.
And then she would work. And then, of course, our dads are like a very instrumental in our lives. But for young girls like us growing in the African community, to our dads, we absolutely love you guys.
Yeah.
But it means so much seeing our moms a certain way. Because for every time we step out there, right, our community tells us that women are not deserving of certain things. Because if you ask why, it's not because we're not educated, because we don't have the experience. It's simply because we're women. So watching our moms go through these experiences and coming out on top, it means so much to us because it's like we're seeing ourselves in them. It's not to say our dads don't mean are not doing what they're supposed to do. They're very present and they're so lovely and they're amazing providers and we love them. But seeing our moms, I think, is very impactful because it's like you see yourself in her as a woman. And now it's like when you go out there and they tell you a woman cannot do this, you're like, how dare you? Have you met my mother? Have you seen what she has gone through? Do you see what she has been able to accomplish with the bare minimum? And so I think that's where we come from, where we always speak about our mothers. And my mom was the same way. I always call her a lady of iron and steel. And I tell my mother, my husband, I said, I am not my mother. I said, I don't have that strength because my mom is like a force to reckon with. She always, we always, I'm like, you were a lot. And I was like, she did so much. Like I would see her wake up like almost 4 a.m., get food because she used to sell food and sell. She owned the bar. So she'll wake up at 4, start preparing for the bar. She'll walk to the road. The point where she even had branches. And I would see her and she'll now tell me, I'm not educated. I did not go to school. And I'm like, excuse you? Like, and this is all without having a high school education, right? So imagine if she went to university, she was allowed to exist in a society that allowed her to live at the top of her capabilities. I'm like, these women would do amazing things.
And I feel like they really push you to do more.
Yes.
Just seeing like how much progress and how much they've able to do without all of like the resources,
Yeah.
and all the like connections that other people have access to, it makes you like feel really empowered. Like, okay, now that I'm in this like new country, or now that this opportunity
Yeah.
is in my face, like I should be able to like push forward through it, and like within my capabilities and abilities, I should like be able to
Exactly.
achieve it because I have these women that are behind me.
Yeah,
that
that's
doesn't
not
want
you
to
have any
relate.
like then what's my it's almost like what's my excuse?
Yeah.
What's my excuse for failing? Where it's like I have like and they're right when they always tell us like why are you anxious? Like we do not have anything but we made something.
Yeah.
But I think it's grounded in the fact that like when we succeed, it's almost like they succeed because they pour like their little they like the young girl of their like what those dreams are like. For example, in my culture, I remember growing up, people would be like, "I'm a girl. Like, why do you spend so much money in girls? Like, you should invest in the boy." But now it's like my mom is like, "Now you can go to school, something I never got to do." So it's like take full advantage of it. Run. My mom always said education is your first husband. So she was like, don't be obsessed with marriage. A lot of people are obsessed with marriage, but she's like, education is your first husband. So when you enter any man's house, like what is here, nobody can take away from you.
Exactly.
They can take anything away from you, a title, maybe your position in wherever, but what is up here, they have no access to. So I think when they tell us like you can do it, I think it's because if they had those resources, they would have shot for the stars.
Exactly.
And they see their young self in us. It's like they're almost living vicariously through us. So as young firstborns, what do you think we can do for our mothers so that they get to live something of themselves. Like they don't get to live through us, but they live get because I see where that can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing,
Yeah.
right? Because let's say you know you're a medical doctor, your mom is proud of you, but what if you didn't want to become a medical doctor, something she didn't agree with? Then it's like, oh no, you have disappointed her because maybe as a young girl she always wanted to be that thing, and now she has pushed that dream and vision onto you, and now you're carrying not only for Favor but for Favor and Juliana, right? How do you think that now as children that are more aware, how can we make our mothers and parents live? How do we like encourage them to live?
I feel like the drives that like our mothers and all the women figures in our life, like the drives that they have, it kind of like is tethered a little bit to us.
Yes.
And it's something that like can't really be taken away. I think it's like something that's passed on.
Okay.
It's kind of like a legacy.
Yeah.
And what you choose to do with that drive is kind of like you following your purpose. Like
Mm.
though they might like prefer for you to do a specific thing, like be a doctor, but if your heart is telling you to like follow a different path, then like you should go ahead and follow that different path. But that doesn't mean that the drive
That
they
drive
gave
is
to
there.
you is still
Okay.
there. It's still it's still gonna be
Okay.
there.
I've
Just
never
because
thought
it's
about it
something
like that. Thank you for that perspective. I like that. So their drive is still in us.
Yeah.
So we take that drive and manifest it in whatever thing that we are doing.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. I think that's an excellent way of because I've always asked that question, but I never had the answer. So thank you for giving me clarity. Yeah.
Of course.
One of the other things that I wanted us to talk about was like what you're currently doing, right, at University of Maryland. It's summer. What are you up to?
Oh, summer currently right now, I'm working as an orientation advisor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the new students that are coming in, I'm kind
Oh,
of
you have that position. Oh,
yeah.
for somebody who doesn't like people, you're always around people.
Yeah, I'm trying my different
Yeah,
ways to
yeah,
get
I
them
love
out
it.
there.
It's like you're coming out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what college is about.
Mm-hmm.
Is to find your weaknesses and getting into a space to make them strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that you're taking full advantage of that college experience.
Yeah.
I'm like talk to unknown people. It was in college that I got to eat Indian food. It was in college that I got to like try so many cultures and like, and now it's like I can meet with anybody from any walk of life and any race and have a conversation, because college was like my awakening into the
Yeah.
world. So I like that you're taking that advantage.
Yeah, I'd
of,
say
yeah.
similar to me too.
Yeah,
College
it's like
is
you're
like-
awakening.
Yeah.
I love it.
Along with that, I'm also like I volunteer at an urgent care that's kind of like nearby on campus. Just
Okay,
to get like clinical
that's good.
hours.
That's good.
Yeah, and for the most part, those are like the two activities. I'm also taking like summer classes on the side. But yeah, those are like the main activities.
So what about your internship with the African American policy
Oh
for?
yeah, sorry.
Yes,
I
look
forgot
at you
about that.
minimalizing her.
Sorry, it's a lot to keep
Yes.
track of. But yeah, I'm also doing a internship with the African American Policy Forum. I did the internship with them last year, and
Okay.
so this year I'm coming to them as more of like an ambassador.
Okay.
Yeah. So with the internship, I worked as a young scholar. We basically did research analysis and policy analysis on the lives of young Black girls. So my team specifically, we did a project called Hidden Cycles. It was basically like a research analysis on young Black girls, how they experience poverty, period poverty,
Mhm.
and how that kind of like manifests in the lives of young girls, not just like within the United States, but also like amongst the diaspora. Because my team, we wanted to like not only focus on like here,
Yeah.
but also amongst the diaspora as well.
Oh.
So we mainly kind of focus more on like surveys and like focus groups, just talking amongst Black girls, like how their community is in terms of like menstrual infrastructure and
Okay.
just mutual aid amongst girls as they're going through like puberty and stuff.
I like that. I see you doing medicine along the lines of global health.
Yeah, I was thinking something similar, or maybe like something along like maternal health as well.
That's good. I have a friend who is an OBGYN.
Oh really?
I can connect you to her.
That would be amazing.
That she's like in her second year. She's my really good friend. Ngozi, shout out to you. We've been through the thick and thin and the ice and the skating all together. So I think she'll be a great mentor for you.
That would be amazing.
Yes, I will connect because like you were talking and I'm like, this is what Ngozi is currently doing and enjoys doing, and I'm seeing how that progression, and I'm also seeing how intentional you are about picking your opportunities.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this was
Yeah, I say for me, I'm trying to like mainly focus on like making my passions fall along the lines of like women, womanhood, kind of like centering the narratives of
Yes.
women. So anything within like healthcare or anything like policy related a little bit. So I try to like dabble and kind
Yeah.
of intertwine the book to have like an intersection. So when you said global health, I was like, yeah,
Yes, yeah, that's good. I will connect you with her after the podcast.
that would be
Yes,
amazing.
yes. And one of the other things too that I was also going to just talk with you about again was like, you're a young girl, you're doing a lot of things. Do you ever feel like you're missing out on life, like that FOMO experience? Like, Davido is coming to town, like
Okay.
like probably you'll not be there because we're doing work.
Almost like the
Yeah, so do you go through FOMO and how do you deal with it?
yeah, I do periodically. There was one time a friend of mine told me, he was like, "You have really big dreams." I was like, "I don't think they're really big necessarily. I think I'm just like
Yeah.
trying to make sure, I dream big."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, how do you ever have time to like, just live your life?" I'm like, "Well, I try every now and then, but me living my life is me
Living
pursuing
my dreams. That's
yeah.
that's what I tell
Like,
people.
I'm not too mad about missing
Yeah.
out on a couple things,
Yeah.
but for the
I
most
asked that question because I dealt with FOMO. This is one thing I'll tell the people watching. So when I got off social media because I was like, I'm working on my dreams. I'm somebody who have never like in prior to me finding myself, I asked myself this a lot of questions. And I'll go on my status and I'll see people like having fun and I'm like, am I missing out on something? And so this is a story I always tell my younger ones. So I went to this party and there was this person in my community, like this other younger lady who always posts, and I'm like, I feel like I'm missing out. Like I'm never there. So one time we're at this party together, and it was like the most boring thing ever to me. Like it was very disinteresting. And I realized that I don't enjoy those spaces, but outside of that, it was like very boring. And then fast forward, then now the next day we finished and we came back home and you're sitting and you're watching status again, and you're like, when I watched that party we were at together on the status, I was like, this status makes it look so interesting. I was like, I was here. This was not it. So I also realized that there's a lot of lies too with social media.
Yeah.
Like it's like, what is there truly something of the fear of missing out? Because we all have something that we're supposed to be in pursuit of. And the only thing you can miss out on is what you're supposed to be following.
Yeah.
Right? You can never miss out on something that you were never meant to be there. And so that's when I came to the realization of the type of crowds that I like to keep around me. And I became very unapologetic about that. I like this type of spaces I want to be around, the type of fun, like what fun means to me. It doesn't necessarily mean the same to somebody else, and being okay with that. So that was how I basically dealt with this fear of missing out. It's not to just look at what society or what is the trend of having fun. It's
Yeah.
like, what is Diane's idea of fun? And I started realizing like fun is me just spending time with my sisters, having a glass of wine, talking about something very deep like the Bible, and like talking about the things that are affecting us. And then once in a while, maybe living like anything I'm doing with my siblings to me is fun. So even if we're going to like a stream and we're dipping our toes in water, that's fun to me. So I started having to define fun to me, so I don't let society define it for myself. And so that's how I kind of handled like when people ask me like, oh, you don't like people were like, oh, you don't like you're very sheltered, you don't do a lot of things. Like I do a lot of things. It's not just what people should expect me doing. Like I if like now be like when I was doing I did something called El Samp, which is almost along the lines of like mentoring. I did El Samp for New Jersey and I truly enjoyed it. And to me that was fun. Like that to me is fun. Like just talking to people, getting to know people. I'm like that's a like I'll at the end of the day I'm like, oh my god, I had so much fun. And people are like, what did you do? I was like, oh, I went to this place, I was chatting, I met this person. So I started redefining what fun means to me.
Yeah.
And I that's the advice that I'm going to give to every young person watching this. We need to take time, sit with ourselves, and define a lot of these things that society has defined for us for ourselves. Whether it comes to like success, failures, career, fun, our purpose. Take time, have this retreat with yourself and find out what it means to you, so that when you find yourself in situations where people want to define it for you, you can almost be like, stop.
Yeah.
And it's like, and have that conversation. But I think once you don't do that, it's easy for people to encroach and tell you what their perception or idea of you or that important thing is. So but yeah, it was truly a pleasure talking to you. is there any message that you have for a younger you, a younger person that is like following you? Anything that you've always wanted to say to somebody? Is there any message?
Yeah,
If you do,
this
look into that camera and let them know.
this might sound a little cliche, but definitely follow your dreams is the number one advice that I give to anyone. If you feel like there's a specific burning passion within your heart or a specific calling, don't shy away from it. Always follow down that road. Pursue it to your fullest, because that's the only way you really get like that full satisfaction. Because half of the time, what you're really feeling is what God wants you to do.
Yeah.
He won't put a passion in your heart that like, well, yeah, he won't put a passion in your heart that he specifically doesn't want you following down that road. And so whatever passion he puts within your heart, follow through it, and just pursue it to the fullest.
Thank you, Favor. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you. I wish you the utmost best in life. I want you to know that I'm always here for you. If you need anything, you have my number. I will give them. I'm like, I'm a phone call away, whether it's resources, anything I can do to contribute to your success. And I'm very, very privileged to be sitting here with a young author like yourself, reading this book, and literally reading my story through you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And please check out Favor's book. It's titled To the Beautiful You. Favor, can you tell our audience where they can grab a copy of your books if they needed one?
Yeah, you can purchase To the Beautiful You on Amazon as well as Kindle Unlimited.
Yes. A beautiful you and a beautiful read too. Thank you. Once again, thank you so much for joining Candid Moments, where curiosity meets conversation.